What's up, guys? My name is Rob, and welcome back to Rule of Two Review, where today I'm going to discuss the Halo 5 beta. So today is January 8th, 2015, which means that for the last week and a half, me and millions of other Xbox and Halo fans have been playing and gobbling up and digesting the Halo 5 multiplayer beta, which launched on December 29th and is running through January 18th this year. It's a pretty big deal. A lot of people knew that going into the Master Chief Collection, which released in November last year, just a couple of months ago, that one of the benefits to picking up that game was going to be access to the Halo 5 multiplayer beta. And here we are, like I said, a week and a half or so into the access to be able to play the beta. I've spent a good amount of time on it. I made a kind of a Let's Play video when I first was trying to connect to a match, and I got to play one match. This would have been on December 30th, so just the second day that it was made available. And that was an interesting video. I'll link it below. You know, again, fair warning, it takes me like 10 minutes just to get into a freaking map, so that part sucked. Since then, the servers have been fixed. They've made a couple updates and patches. They've changed some of the maps and modes available to us. They've definitely improved the experience, so I want to talk to you guys about what I think of it so far. So my experience with the beta is kind of a unique one in the sense that I'm a huge Halo fan. I mention that on occasion whenever it's relevant. I've loved it ever since the first game. I've never stopped loving it. I think it's just one of the best gaming series of the last several decades and generations, and I think it's one of the best gaming series still going on today. So I really, really appreciate what they do. It's some of the best music in the business. That's probably the number one thing that always sticks with me when I think of Halo. Of course, we're now in this period where a couple of years ago, Bungie moved on to something else, which became Destiny. They handed off the series, their flagship series that they created for the Xbox, to 343 Industries, who has since made Halo 4, which is my favorite Halo game yet. They also worked on the Halo Master Chief Collection, which I said just launched a couple months ago, which I think is a pretty darn good package overall. And now here they are working on the next official Halo, the first next-gen Xbox One game, which is Halo 5 Guardians. And I'm one of the few people that, although I enjoy the multiplayer for Halo, it's actually not what I get excited about, and it's not what I spend most of my time on. When a new Halo's coming out, and I'm getting really excited and pumped, and I'm getting ready to set aside a bunch of time to play this game once it comes out, it's not really for the multiplayer. The multiplayer has always been great for Halo, and that is part of what made it famous when the original launched for the original Xbox back in 2001. But man, the campaign, the story modes, the music, like I said, the new weapons, Master Chief's story, you know, Cortana, oh my gosh, one of my favorite video game characters of all time. That's what I care about when it comes to Halo. So here we are, a year away from Halo 5 Guardians, and we are now having access to the multiplayer beta for Halo, which I was excited for because it was going to give us kind of a glimpse into Halo 5. You know, but again, it's the multiplayer stuff, which doesn't ultimately get me as excited. However, I've been playing it. Overall, I think it's pretty darn great. There's a lot of unique and new things going on here that I certainly did not expect. The first number one thing, which I did talk about on my Let's Play video, is the fact that, man, they have borrowed a lot from Call of Duty. And I have mixed feelings on that because I am, of course, also a big Call of Duty fan. I have no problem admitting that. I like it for the kind of candy-coated experience leveling up sort of mind-numbing fun that it is. I think it's great for that, and that's all I've ever accepted it as. And I will also say that I think Call of Duty has some of, if not the best, shooting mechanics of any series out there. It's a great game. It's a great series, I should say, and they all play wonderfully. Whether or not you hate the repetitive nature, that's completely fine, but as far as just the mechanics and how those games are put together, they're great. So, and then you have Halo, which is ultimately the shooting franchise that I personally love much, much more than Call of Duty. So you take that series, and then you combine it with a lot of the mechanics from Call of Duty, and it's like, well, that should be a great thing, and it is certainly a good thing, but it's a weird thing. And so what I've noticed with Halo 5, you know, the beta for the multiplayer so far, is that after the servers got fixed and it was easier to play more, and after I finally started to get, you know, okay at it, I'm not great, I actually suck at it, but I'm okay. I can now at least finally get a couple kills per match, which previously I could not do. So now that I'm, you know, getting used to it and playing it more and more, it's, like I said, it's a weird thing. It's so weird to me that they felt that they needed to take the Halo formula and borrow from Call of Duty so much. With the aim down sights and with the, you know, the L3 left stick click for the run and all these other weird things, and it's like, why did you do that? It's okay, so it's hard to talk about because, like I said, I don't know why they did that. I want to ask 343, why did they think that that was something they felt they needed to do? I liked the idea that Halo was just going to keep moving forward as its own thing and keep itself separate from Call of Duty. But at the same time, I mean, it still works. It certainly feels good, and it works for this game, for at least what I've played of the beta. So it's not like it's an unmitigated disaster, and it certainly doesn't make the game bad. It's just so bizarre that they felt they had to do this, you know? But I mean, I don't want to dwell on that fact too much. I don't think they needed to do this. I think they could have improved other areas of the typical Halo 5 combat and just left it that, and, you know, made improvements on Halo's formula, not borrowing from Call of Duty's and trying to improve Call of Duty's formula. But whatever. Like I said, I'm beating a dead horse at this point. So as far as how it is good, I mean, the aim down sights feels great. One of my favorite things you can do is if you actually get a mid-air jump, or if you're falling from like a higher level, if you aim down sights in midair, you actually get almost like a bullet time effect. And I mean, it's not real bullet time because no one around you slows down, but you slow down and you get this kind of slow hovering effect that helps you really like pinpoint your aim. If you're like in the middle of a gunfight and you jump because someone threw a grenade and then you aim down sights in the middle of the air, you kind of like pseudo freeze, and you have this, you know, kind of short window of time where you can get this real precise aiming on the person you're trying to get at while floating in midair, and that's a really cool thing. I'm not really good at that yet, but I can see that being something that, especially when perfected down the road and when the final game comes out at the end of this year, and once we've all had time to really get used to this mechanic, I bet people will get really, really good at that, and it's going to be a whole new level of depth and a brand new dynamic to that kind of shooting combat that's going to make Halo 5 really something special, you know? Again, I can only really talk about the multiplayer aspect of this game, which is kind of too bad. I really hope that they do something similar to what Bungie did do with Destiny and their beta, where they gave you access up to level 8 to a lot of the campaign stuff, and one of the 5 planets you visit throughout the actual campaign of that game. That was a great way to do the beta. And, I mean, Halo 5 is going to have a different sort of, you know, progression. It's not a leveling up kind of, at least I assume it won't be a leveling up kind of thing like Destiny was. So Destiny found a way to make its campaign, its single player stuff work for a beta in a really great way. Whether or not you like the final product, that's not what I'm talking about. Just how the beta was presented. That was wonderful. Now if we get a Halo 5 campaign beta sometime over the summer or something, it would be nice if they find a way to give us a good chunk without spoiling the story, ruining any of the surprises, and still making it feel sizable and giving us reasons to come back and play it over and over again. That was just like the coolest thing for Destiny, and I think it could be great for Halo. Like I said, mostly because it's the campaign and the story that I'm more excited for. You know, I want to see if there's any way they can bring Cortana back in any way, shape, or form. They probably won't, and that's okay. I would love to see her come back. I want to find out who this other mysterious figure is, you know, that's shown on the cover with like this blue light or something. I mean, whoever he is, I really want to see how that starts to play out. And so, you know, that's going to be really cool going forward. But again, going back to the current multiplayer beta, they're changing up some of the modes. They've changed up some of the maps. The first 2 maps were good, but god damn, I sucked. I couldn't kill anybody on any of those maps. After a couple of days, they removed those maps and added 2 new maps. I can't remember their names, but hopefully some of the footage that I'm going to have playing over this that you're watching right now will show a couple of those map names, and I'm pretty sure I'll be able to do that. So, the new maps are great. There's a lot of variety. The thing that I'm noticing from the 4 that I've played so far is that they're pretty small. And I don't really love small maps in most shooting kind of multiplayer experiences. I like bigger maps. I like lots of places to traverse where you can have a lot of time to kind of move around, scour the environment. You know, you can play for a good solid several minutes before you get killed. The small maps, and I know why people like them in FPS games. I totally get why. But I don't like this is because there's so much chaos and it's nonstop explosions and shooting, and every 10 seconds you're running into somebody else, and it's like, okay, your kill count can go up really fast if you're pretty good, but that's just, I don't like that. I don't like just the nonstop repetitiveness of you spawn, you run around, you do a few things, you might kill some people, and then boom, you're dead. And then you spawn again, and then you do the same thing and rinse and repeat. You'll spawn, like, I guess it depends on how good you are, but you'll spawn way too many times in a small map, and I don't like stopping that often. I don't mind the slower nature of a larger map, like the old school Blood Gulch map, you know, and stuff like that, where you really can take your time and move around and hopefully find someone and pick them off from a distance. And if you run into someone, it's because you both had the same idea in this small little corner of the map. I just, you know, that's just me. I like when there's a lot of those kind of maps, and then the occasional small map. we don't know what the end result and, you know, the end kind of, what's the word I'm looking for? The list and range of maps in the final game are actually going to be like. We have no idea. So these maps might not even make it into the final game, or these might just be small representations of what the final map will actually be once the game comes out. So who knows? It's just my speculation. But as of now, the maps that we can play, they're great. I like them, but they are definitely too small. Now, the other thing I want to talk about, and I shudder to kind of talk about this because it's not typically the kind of thing I want to attach myself to, but it's important and it matters enough to the conversation, are the visuals, the graphics. It's a great looking game, there's no doubt, you know. It looks like a Halo game should be. It looks very reminiscent, like it's kind of evolving what Halo 4 did as far as its look, its tone, its design. And as I said, Halo 4 is my favorite game, partly aided by the fact that it was beautiful, and I loved the locations and the design. And I just loved everything going on, especially with the enemies, which I can't remember now what the new enemies were called. They started with a P, and I keep wanting to call them Protheans, but that's wrong because that's Mass Effect. They Prototh or something? I don't know. They started with a P. Great enemies. I really liked the addition of that race, you know, instead of the frickin' Flood. I was so happy to not have the Flood in a game finally. And so, yeah, so the visuals, they look good because they look like Halo 4. However, that's also a problem, is because I think they also look too much like Halo 4. As in, it looks exactly like Halo 4. And Halo 4 was a great looking game for the last generation, for the Xbox 360. We're in the Xbox One. I am definitely wanting to see, as much as I don't need the best graphics ever to enjoy any game, I still want to see the Xbox One Halo look amazing. I want to see it look way better than Halo 4, which is one of the best looking games I've ever seen to this day. I want to see something even better looking. And, you know, it should be noted, and again, I talk about this on my Let's Play video, it should be noted that the frame rate, which you won't be able to see because my capture equipment currently does not capture 60 frames per second, but the current game runs in 60 frames per second. And man, it makes a difference. And that is gorgeous. And that is smooth. And that is fun. And it makes the game easier and better to play. Absolutely. Halo 4, of course, did not do that. So that part is a huge bump up. And yes, it's the Xbox One's, you know, power advantage over the last generation that is making Halo 5 run in 60 FPS for sure. But I also just want to see better visuals. I want to see better blur and distance effects. I want to see better lighting. I want to see better water effects, particle effects, all these things. I want to see a better looking game. I don't want to see the same looking game, only in a higher frame rate. And yes, that is nice. And at the end of the day, if it doesn't look any better than Halo 4, provided the game is still great, that is what will be most important to me at the end of the day. Don't get me wrong. It is the number one thing I look for. But again, part of what I think it should mean to have the first Halo made for the brand new generation, the brand new Xbox One, is how fucking awesome it's going to look compared to the last Halo in the last generation. And that is probably the only really disappointing thing I've noticed ever since the first moment that first map came on screen is, wow, this kind of just looks like Halo 4. It really doesn't look all that great, you know. There's, granted, you know, this is probably the last thing I'll talk about, and I'm going to sum this up. Granted, it does still look good, and it does still have a year in development. So we've got a long time for them to be able to finish this game. And so I am judging a 1 year away beta version of the multiplayer only for what is going to be the Xbox One's flagship title. I know that. I'm taking that into consideration. So there's a huge chance this game is going to end up looking way, way better and actually look like a next-gen Halo once it finally launches in, you know, November, December, September time, whenever it comes out this year. But I still have to at least comment on the shape that it's in currently as the beta is playing right now in the first week of 2015. And although it looks good, it doesn't look great, and it certainly doesn't look next-gen. So that's it. That's my thoughts on the Halo 5 Guardians multiplayer beta after about a week and a half or so of playing it. We have another week and a half to go. So I'm really excited to see if they end up adding some other mode. There was a new mode that they added that I didn't talk about because I haven't tried it. It only gives you one spawn. Doesn't sound interesting to me. So I didn't have a chance to talk about that. So I'm sorry if you're curious about it. But still, we have another week and a half to go. Maybe they add new maps. Maybe they add other modes. Maybe they change things up in a couple other different ways. What I do like is they're doing consistent updates and giving us a couple of different ways to experience this beta throughout this 3 weeks that it's going to be available to us. So kudos to 343. At the end of the day, you know, my gripes about the graphics aside, you're doing a great job. I'm a little confused and miffed about your choice to borrow from Call of Duty mechanics, like I said. But at the end of the day, they still feel good. The game feels good. I'm getting better at it. There's a lot of cool things going on. I like the tone of the game, and I'm liking the maps so far, even if they're small. So ultimately, really happy with it, enjoying it a lot, excited to go play some more. If you've been playing it, I definitely want to hear your thoughts. Do you like it? Do you not? Are you excited for the game? Are you not excited? What do you think about kind of the things that I've discussed? Do you agree with my quibble about the graphics? Very curious. Love to hear from you guys. Thanks for tuning in and checking out my review of the Halo 5 Guardians beta so far. Of course, subscribe to Rule of 2 Review if you haven't already. Thanks for tuning in. I will catch you guys on another video for Rule of 2 Review.